welcome. Hey guys. Welcome back to the Impulse Podcast. My name is Karloz.
And I am Jose.
And today we're going to be talking about mental health. We have two amazing guests from two visiting chapters, all the way from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Hi, guys.
And from Houston, Texas.
Hi.
Introduce yourselves, guys.
Oh, be careful.
Hi guys, my name is Andres. It's really a pleasure to be here. Actually, I'm from Colombia, but I'm the leader, the president of the Impulse chapter of Guadalajara, and also the coordinator of the FREE2BE program. So yeah, I'm so excited to finally speak and talk about mental health.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Justin Smith. I'm a therapist and professor, and also helping expand FREE2BE domestically here with Impulse.
Bravo!
Yay. Yes, how are you guys feeling? I like to have two therapists here. I think they're good for us.
I need to adjust myself. What is FREE2BE?
Well, FREE2BE is the mental health program of Impulse. Actually, it's the first service we have as an Impulse group. So it is pretty a big deal for us because as a members of Impulse, we create experience about, sexual health. But with FREE2BE, it's a slight difference because it's a service. So it's a little, more responsibility to the people, for the gay people. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's it's so nice to have something like that for gay people.
I love that. So it's mental health services for gay people, and it's being offered by Impulse.
Yeah, so, it really kind of started around the pandemic.
Yeah.
I remember Andres and Guadalajara, they were talking a lot about mental health issues. And obviously, as you guys recall, the pandemic really brought a lot of just things to everybody, including myself. And I remember I decided to start therapy. And in that decision, I realized a couple of things. I realized how expensive mental health is, right? You have to be in the United States privileged to even have access. So I realized how expensive it was. And then I also realized how much I was struggling. And I remember talking to you, Andres, and the team, and I talked about the things that I were going through, and almost every single one of them were going through something similar. So therefore, I'm like, wait, if I'm struggling this much, as privileged as I am, in the place that I am, and my team is too, it's just one chapter out of 26, we need to do something about it. We have no idea, I had no idea what that will be, but because of that thought of me knowing the need that I had, the privilege that I had, and how difficult it was, disclosing it to my team, one team, and seeing that everybody was experiencing similar things, kind of made me step back and wonder, we need to do something. I just didn't know what that something would be. That something now has become FREE2BE.
Yeah, actually, back in time when we were having like a really deep conversation with the team of Guadalajara. It was so, was so deep. We were talking about a lot of stuff like normally gay guys talking about other gay guys and all stuff.
But so gossipy.
Yeah. but suddenly one of them was, like remember a couple of times where he was saying like, hey, yeah, I feel so lonely actually. And I know that I like this guy, but I don't know why I'm feeling a lot of rejection from this guy. And then the other guy of the room saying, hey, actually, I'm going through some difficult time right now because I'm thinking about committed suicide. I don't know if I can say that kind of word here, but and it was difficult to hear something like that because you saw that person in front of you and you saw like he's smiling all the time, but inside of that bodies is happening even more than you realize. So it was like, damn, something really deep is happening right now, and I even noticed that.
So Andres, you bring a good point, and Justin, I don't know how you feel, but I do, like in my own experience, the way that I covered it, the armor that I put on is kind of what you're saying. I'm charismatic and I'm bubbly and I'm always smiling, but behind all that smiling and perkiness, there was a lot of sadness. Do you guys see that in gay men, that we just shelter ourselves?
I see it 100%. So when I started my career in Texas, I work at a psychiatric hospital. And in those facilities, those are people who are either actively suicidal or who have attempted suicide. And so that really normalized for me that it doesn't have one look. So I would see doctors, engineers, teachers, people from all walks of life. And on the surface, you might think everything's fine. But as Andres has said, once people start to talking, it really feels safe to open up. Like they can be really struggling. And anybody can get to that point if they don't have the right support and resources to really help them in those moments.
And at that point, both of you deal with different demographics, right? So I know with Andres and Latin America, obviously Mexico and Latin America, and we deal with Latin men. You deal with multiple, but I know you deal with a lot of Black gay men. As therapy or as just mental health, is there similarities or is it different? Is it all kind of the same? Is there racial differences?
I would say
mental health?
definitely. I mean, we're human beings, so the intersection is always there. So there's overlap, and that can be in the textbooks, and we also learn about different stereotypes that might be out there, but just certain things are common to a Black family that happens in people's lives. So what's it like to be raised by a Black mother or a Latino mother? Like it's different. And so those norms show up in yourself as an individual and in that counseling room too, where your mother might not think you should be in counseling. Like, what's the point? Save that money and go do X, Y, Z. So that cultural piece is always there.
And have you noticed?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, we have like a different cultural background, right? So for Latin people, it's really interesting because we as a man, it is so difficult to think and to talk about mental health because we as a man,
in general, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if we are going through something really bad, I mean, that's okay, but maybe we can just go to drink and that's it. And we're gonna fix it, drink it with the guys and speak just superficially about the topic and that's it. So, but then to go really going through the topic, go deeper is so difficult just because of the cultural, background. But sometimes we have to, because at the end, we are like we have like, how to say that? Like, oh my God, English.
Spanish.
Yeah, that's okay.
Say Spanish too.
Tenemos un tope,
We have like a
We have a limit, yeah. We have a lid. We have
Yeah.
like a lid on all the feelings. Yeah, I feel that. And then now circling back to like gay men, which is a completely different experience, but is there more like you see more intersectionality coming from like different cities and different backgrounds, different racial backgrounds that like, because I know this very famous statistic that queer folk are more prone to suicide and mental health issues than straight or cisgender folk. So do you see, I guess my question is, do you see like maybe a harder access for queer people to get mental health?
It can be limiting because you got to think some cities don't even have LGBT centers. I mean, some do and have large ones that are thriving, but not all centers. So there's not always a counseling space that's built for LGBT people and the experiences that they go through. So it can be a challenge to find that counselor that gets it.
And even if there is like, let's say a center, we talk about a lot of things that we talk about here is the issue of access. Like what if you don't have a car?
Yeah.
What if you don't have the money for an Uber? Like how are you going to get these kind of services? Would FREE2BE help cover that gap?
That's something how FREE2BE came to be, the birth of it, of like, we see this need here. How can we be innovative in creating a service and expanding Impulse? I mean, Impulse is turning 15. So I think that shows the beauty of like, this was nowhere on the radar year one, but for Jose to go through his personal experience and Andres to talk about what he's seeing, I think that just shows the innovation that Impulse is willing to do.
You know what? The huge intersection about like for example, the US culture and the Latin culture as well is mental health is the privilege, actually, is expensive. It's really expensive. So, but even though it's a need for us as a gay men, so yeah, that's a really big intersection. It's expensive, but even though it's a right, so we as Impulse members, we try to go for it and to make that every single we want to every single gay man has the right to be with an expert, with a professional, to talk about the real deep issues, to have the tools to face life. So yeah.
So Andres and Justin, that brings me a question that I usually get asked of the program. We do 3 months of free in-person therapy.
Yeah.
We sometimes expand to 6 months of free in-person therapy based on the cases. obviously we can't be your mental health provider forever. We don't have the funds. I wish we did, right? We don't have we just have the manpower either.
Yeah.
So when do you guys feel that coming in and working with either one of you or any other licensed therapist through Free2Be, that 3 months will be impactful?
Definitely. It's a start. So even like large institutions, like I worked at universities and there's so many students, they can't have a counselor for every student. But so it'll be a semester that they get services. And so it won't be the end all be all, but it's a start. And it's talking about access, it lowers that barrier so people can actually get into counseling and be like, oh, it's actually not that scary. And I can talk about anything from family to sex to career, all these different things to help you better manage your everyday life. So it's not perfect, but it's the start to get people in the door and lower that barrier and get more access to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and they say that the first step is always the hardest anyway. So I think that making it easy to take that first step into your own mental health journey, you know, which a lot of people, by the way, you know, you might be working out your abs and your biceps, but you got to work out your, it's also a workout, okay? I want to talk about really quick, you brought the topic of sex. There is something that is very prevalent in our community that is just across the board damaging our community really, really bad, and that is chemsex. And that is people that makes sex with drugs, and it becomes a very slippery slope. How do we handle that? What do you think that's happened to?
Well, I think you talk about the emotions that could be going on, whether you're using drugs as a coping skill. And then also, depending on the person, there might be some shame with identity that's wrapped up in there. And so it can be a slippery slope of that drug usage and sex getting tied together. And if you don't have a therapy space, you might not have someone to untie those and also figure out why they came together in the first place. So therapy gives you that space to really dig into these two different things and why they are coming together.
Yeah.
What do you guys think no one talks about it? Because like we all know somebody that, girl, you need to put the pipe down, or like we all know somebody, and it's just not. I feel like sometimes it's a community, instead of trying to reach out and help certain individuals, we just go get away from them. Is that something that you see?
Yeah, a lot actually. It's just because the fear of the diagnosis, right? So when you see, for example, like schizophrenia, bipolar, or anxiety or depression, you for example, as a friend, you don't know how to deal with that. And because you don't know the information about the diagnosis, you prefer to, oh, I'm just a little bit scared of that. I can't handle it actually. So maybe I can just step aside. But it's just fear about the information. So the only thing that we need is spaces like that, for example, or like Free2Be or Impulse or safe spaces to just talk about, you know, this kind of diagnosis, this kind of, you know, topics. And that's it. It's just fear, actually.
And chemsex sometimes builds into addiction or really just uncontrollable use, right? Do you, as Free2Be, is that a cases like that where somebody's really struggling with crystal meth or they're really struggling with addiction? Is that clients that we take on? Because I do know that addiction is its own beast. And sometimes I've heard you need to deal with that beast first before you deal with the pieces of the mental health that's leading you there. But I'm not sure if it works that way. Does it? Can one happen and then you go to, or they're all intertwined?
Sometimes it can start with you, say like access to barrier, you go to a counselor and you start the process. That counselor might be like, you may need a higher level of care, or I might need to refer you to a specialist that can help you with this specific issue. And if you want, you can come back. So it can just depend on what type of service that you start with. But either way, it still puts you on that path. So at least having the conversation about what's going on.
Is Free2Be open for everybody and any mental condition or problem that they're having, or is it limited to specific diagnoses or issues?
You know, that's a really good question. So we are focused on gay, queer, and bisexual men, of course, but we don't deny the service to anyone. So if someone just texts us through the Instagram page and it's I don't know, a non-binary people, we can just talk about it and they can access to the service. So because at the end we are creating a community, a safe community about mental health. But now, for example, that happened in Latin, right? But here in US, it's a little bit slight difference. Yeah.
So our system is a little different here, of
Yes,
course,
it's
in
different.
America, and our partner SunServe. You know, we're so grateful and thankful, yeah, to have this new partnership that they have infrastructure already in place, and so through that they have their systems that you can start process with them to get connected with a therapist. And they they take it from there. I mean, I think Impulse is really playing this role to start the conversation, get more gay men into the therapy space, lowering that barrier, and through this partnership, really.
Okay, so walk me through the process. Okay, let's say I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm going through it. Where do I go? How do I start?
So we have two different ones. So you want to start with?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
For LATAM, it's a little bit different. So if you want to contact, you want the service of the mental health, you just want to get a DM through Instagram page, even though it's Chile, Peru, or Mexico, and that's it. And then a psychologist on the line gonna ask you few questions, basic ones, and then you're gonna have the service. That's it.
Nice.
Now it's a little bit different from US because the service in LATAM is face-to-face, face one-on-one. And you're gonna have like 8 to 16 sessions for free.
Wow. And in the US, how do
In
we
the
go
US,
about it?
And in the US, so it's a little bit different. So they'd have to go to the SunServe website, which I believe is sunserve.org. And they can fill out a contact form. And from there, the office will contact them about what issues that they're having and getting them connected with a counselor there at the center.
So in the United States right now, we are focusing on Miami. So we're working in relationship partnership with SunServe. So you can either follow Impulse Miami as you should. They will have a link there that they will take you to a form. You will fill some question and it will go to a therapist and then they will contact you. You can also go to sunserve.org and fill a form there, and then somebody, a licensed therapist, will get you, will contact you, and it's free. It will be in person. Some of them will be able to be on Zoom, but we will recommend people to come and meet the therapist in person. So it's really easy. Let us know, and hopefully we can help you.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about mental health itself, because I think like a lot of people have this misconception about mental health that it's like only for crazy people, you know? And last time I checked, we're a little crazy. So how do we navigate that whole misconception or stigma that like you have to be like batshit, you know, to go get some mental health, even though mental health is actually something that we should all be doing, like eating well or, you know, taking a walk.
So I think it's expanding that conversation around what mental health is. And mental health is how we're managing and functioning every day in our lives. So I like to say, from Houston, Texas. If you're driving in Houston in that traffic, you are managing stress and anxiety every day. So it's not just about being in crisis or everything is imploding in your life. It might just be you have the Sunday scaries every week before going to work on Monday. What's that about? You know, you can go to counseling to help with that, about what the dynamics are in your workplace. Or I work with a lot of lawyers, so a lot of them are like, how did I even get here? The money's nice, but I hate it. So I think that can help you of like, it's not just about being in crisis, but it's everyday things of how are you managing your life? And it's a lot. Talk about the adulting of what it means to be working every day, trying to work out, get your fiber, get your protein, and doing all the things to manage that we have these days.
I love that. So I guess we all pretty much have this like, it boils down to like, how do I feel and why am I feeling this way? You know, and I don't think a lot of people ever bothering asking themselves that, you know. Shout out to one of my awful exes, who I asked him like, why are you doing this? And his answer to a lot of things like, I don't know.
That's very common. As I ask people questions in
Why are you doing
therapy,
this?
even if I have a feelings wheel, they're like, I don't know how I feel. I haven't quite really did some digging into that. I kind of keep going and going, but I haven't stopped to reflect and like think about how I'm feeling and maybe how did I get here and what have I experienced that's gotten me here.
And just,
that's that space for.
Yeah, and Justin, to your point, I remember because when I started therapy, I went with a specific plan, right? Like I like to be an A student. So I'm gonna be a great student. I'm gonna go to therapy for 1 month and I'm gonna be healed, right? What I realized through the process that I revealed very interesting that my upbringing, right? Being born in Mexico, raised by a very religious mother, had carry a lot of shame in my just interactions sexually with men. And through that, I had no idea I was that ingrained religiously until I talked about it with a therapist. So my question to you guys is, because I came in because I want to cope with this, but through the process, I'm like, oh, that's not even the biggest issue. And you know, like for me, like religion, I did not expect how much religion have shamed me and shamed my sexual interactions, and therefore I was using alcohol to get me through it. And I didn't go for that. And that was such an awakening for me. Because I'm like, I'm not religious. But it came that I was. But I wasn't aware.
That's what I call like the magic and beauty of therapy, is that it just puts you in a place to not only reflect, but it also reveals so much to you of like, how are these things at play that maybe I don't have control over impacting me? You know, we are in different countries and government. We have these laws. We may not be thinking about the law every day, but how is it impacting us as we develop through? I mean, I can remember when gay marriage was approved and legalized in America. Growing up, it was like that wasn't an option. And so I have a lot of clients who are like 30 plus, and they're like, marriage, I don't know. It wasn't a thing. But then like younger clients are like, they never have known different. And so these things are always at play, impacting us, even though we may not know it.
Right. And you know what? Like, for example, when you're in therapy, you know about how the social structure of the life, you know, religious is a social structure, right? How defines how our perception of life, right? Even if it's ourselves. So that's why, for example, exists like the inner homophobia. So you don't know that you actually hate yourself until you go to therapy and you understand that, hey, actually I don't like that kind of behavior, but I wasn't aware about it. So yeah.
So it's like important to like to name it, you know, like to like, because you can't do anything about it until you know what it is. So we have like, and truth be told, you may have a lot of good friends that know how to talk very well. They're not professionals and they don't have a name for everything. These guys do. And it really helps you like navigate, like to be like, oh, that's why I ate all those Oreos, you know, because I was having a panic attack, and I'm gonna regret it tomorrow. But yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Are you guys seeing as gay therapists, which you deal with a lot of gay men, are you guys seeing any trends? What is it like? What are we really struggling with in our community that you guys have seen?
Trying to learn.
I mean, it feels like it's everything that everyone's struggling with and then some, because we are usually growing up in environments where we receive messages where what we liked or what we thought we liked was not right. It was hated, or it was like, if I do this, what could happen to me, or what could be taken away from me? And so that's why those high numbers that we have around depression and anxiety, because you're moving through life just like everybody else, but then this extra layer that's stressful to most people and also dangerous to a lot of people. Like being gay might be illegal in your country, or it may be frowned upon in the space that you're in. And so you are managing just like everybody else with that extra layer. I like to say, even if it's an extra 5 pounds, carrying 5 pounds for 30 years, you start to feel it's tiring.
Yeah, for example, in my case, I saw a lot of different users struggling with the identity topic, right? And it was so interesting for me because, you know, and maybe you know where I'm going through this one. When we are like a young gay guy, you know, we try to face reality, the society, with the standards of our family or the standards of our society to just, you know, to be part of it. But then you are like a gay adult or a young adult, and then you try to figure it out. Who am I? Who I'm really are? Well, really. So we try like to know the difference between this fake ourselves and the real self. So it's different. It's so hard for us to really know who is the true, for example, in my case, who is the true Andres?
So I feel like all of us growing up Latino and then coming out, we all have this like shared trauma, even though we never talk about it, because we're taught to like, los niños se portan así, los hombres se portan así, men are supposed to behave this way and women are supposed to behave this way. And when are you going to marry a nice girl and give me grandchildren? And then as you're growing up, for your own safety, you have to have this like persona that you create, and you walk around with this like persona of like el niño bueno, the good boy. God forbid they find out what you're doing. We don't talk about Bruno, that whole thing. Literally, that movie messed me up. We like you're that whole thing that they don't talk about, and then as you're growing up and you become into your own adult self, you're like, okay, but who am I? Because I know that's not me because that's who they told me I should be.
Yeah.
And I'm over here, but is that not me? I worked really hard on that. And is that not me? And who am I now? Do I have to be something? Do I throw that out? Do I start all over? Am I going to make myself happy? Am I going to make my family happy? Is no one going to love me?
I'm already stressed out. You're listening
Yeah,
to you.
but and then growing up Catholic, we went to church a lot.
We need
all
a
I
whole
hear
session
is
on
like
that
látigo. You're gonna go to hell, and and it's crazy. And I think it's important for people to realize, like, you can't. Some things you just can't fix yourself.
Yeah. I also think, and I want to get your thoughts, because when I did therapy, many people think, oh, the moment you start therapy is you have to be in therapy forever. So I think people get afraid of like, oh, I don't know if I can commit to long-term therapy. And for me, like I said earlier, I wanted to be the good student. I'm like, I give myself a month, and then, okay, maybe I need a year. And then 3 years later, I'm still there. I'm no longer in therapy, but what I do appreciate, what it did for me, is it made me aware of some of the things I did not know were leading my behaviors and my shame and my fears, right? But what I did learn, once I learned those things, where it came from, me and my therapist work on tools, because I only saw her once a week. 1 hour is not gonna make all the impact. So she taught me, these are your tools. You need this hour, but you need your relationships, your friends. You need your social. You need to construct an environment that can support you. And the tools now, because I still go back to some of those old ways, as we all do, but now I know where it comes from, and I know what tools I have to do it. So my question is therapy forever for people? Or is it just giving them training wheels so they can do it on their own?
The beauty is it's not one or the other. So in my practice, some people are in therapy for many years, but they may go a couple times a year, just like 2 or 3 times, as they've already done a lot of the work and done a lot of the reflecting. They use it as kind of like a tune-up, kind of like our cars need oil changes.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Just a little check-in, and it can also feel very validating to go out in the world and know you have that safe space of like, if something's going on, let me go back to see this person. Do a little check-in of like, what's going on? Someone who already knows you, but also it can be short-term. Maybe you just have one specific thing you want to work on, and so it can be it can be a couple months, it can be years, depending on what's going on and kind of what you prefer. The important thing is that you go because now for you, even if you're not in it now, if something comes up, I can go back and see this person and get some more tools, because therapy for me, like, it's the game plan. It's like, okay, this is going on. Let's try this. You got this tool. Let's go see how it works out in the real world. Because like you said, it's only an hour.
Right.
So you have to go out there and still use the tools to do the work and also construct the people around you. That's why community is so important.
It's important.
So as I said earlier, mental health is like working out, but is there like an actual science to that? Is there actually like any physical benefits to, taking stress away and learning how to manage anxiety and dealing with loneliness and stuff like that? Like, do you see is there like you'll see like a physical change?
So yes, we're all one body. So mental health and physical health are definitely connected. And if you notice, a lot of times, probably the last 10 years, even medical doctors are asking more about, have you experienced depression? Have you experienced anxiety? Because that's tied to our blood pressure, to our veins in our body, like it's all connected. And so as you notice, as you start to improve anxiety, that can also impact other areas in our bodies too. So it's not just one or the other. skin is one. Hey, whatever you gotta do. Yeah, less stress. You have better skin.
Yes.
So-
Actually, that was one of the main things I learned from therapy. And when I was home, when someone gets me like really upset and really mad, I am more upset about the damage they're doing to my skin than whatever it is that they got me mad about. Like, you know how much moisturizer I'm gonna have to do to fix this issue now? Like,
Yeah, Yvonne, a stress pimple? That is
girl,
real.
oh
It's
no,
connected.
no, we're not having that. That's
Oh.
amazing. So I know that Impulse is in 13 countries, right?
Yes.
26 cities, and we're just starting Free2Be in. So we're already in. You said Peru,
Yeah. Peru,
Chile, and Mexico.
Mexico.
Okay, and then we're also starting in Miami now. So
Yes.
this is just the beginning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, super excited.
Yay.
Don't forget to check us out at impulsegroupmiami.org or just impulsegroup.org, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you,
being with
guys.
us. Of course. Thank you all.
Yay.
And yeah, don't forget to work out all your muscles.